Sharp Corner 2024. This thriller is the story of a family living on the eponymous dangerous bend of a particular highway. It's set in Canada. I think, yeah, the actual fictional place might be in Canada as well, might be USA, I'm not sure, but somewhere in North America. But I'm reminded firstly, of a place uh, near where my grandparents lived in Lancashire in the 1970s. It was near Parbold, near Wigan, and it's a hamlet called Dangerous Corner. That's the actual name of the settlement. Just off junction 27 of the M6. And after watching this film, I had a look at the at that place just because I was reminded of it. Because I remember going for walks with my grandma in between Newborough and Parbold and that area, and I was fascinated by maps and noticed that and wondered why a place was called that. But the website for the place explains that the roads are narrow, vehicles travel too fast, and they have had, unfortunately, a lot of car collisions over the years. So, how bad is this film? I mean, it tends to worry me, the idea that there's going to be possibly gory stuff. Fortunately, there isn't in this. But some people may find the whole theme upsetting. And for one thing, in the news just in the last 24, 36 hours, there's been a tragedy of a Liverpool footballer who died in a collision with his brother in Spain. Really, really sad. I mean, it's just all the newspapers today, the stories about this promising young footballer. Really, I heard all the tributes and just found it so sad. And that sort of thing happens a lot. Um, because I mean, in the UK, I think there's certainly well over 1,000 road deaths every year. There's many more seriously injured, and it's it's a hazard of modern life. Car collisions and road traffic accidents in general. I try and avoid using the term accident because, I mean, yeah, sure, they're accidents in some ways, but it's the impact, it's the collision that's the problem, and it's often devastating. And to a large extent, I don't think with this particular bend in this story, I mean, I don't know why this bend actually exists because in somewhere like the Canadian countryside, you think they could build a road that doesn't involve such a tight twist. It's very difficult historically in the UK with very narrow roads. It takes a lot to change it. You have to compulsory purchase fields and um, bypasses. I've watched roads like the A55 North Wales Expressway being built to replace what was back in the 70s a very narrow coastal road along, it bended a lot. Now a lot of it's been ironed out and it's a dual carriageway practically the whole way from Holyhead to Chester. And there's roads all over the country that have been improved so much. There's been so much improvements in um, car safety, ABS, all those sorts of things. But we still have an awful lot of crashes. And I remember crashes from when I was growing up. And it's just absolutely horrific. So, um, that part of life that evokes deep fear in all of us. And in the case of this family, it's Josh, played by Ben Foster, who starred, I remember years ago, in Alpha Dog, 2006. I thought it was a great film. I'd like to review it sometime. And there's Rachel, played by Kobe Smulders, who's been in the Avengers series and Cicada 2020. And I gave that a short review a couple of summers ago. I'd like to give that a longer review. Like to watch it and give it more detail. They've got they're a couple, cis straight couple. They've got a young son called Max, and I think he's got possibly autism. He seems to be on the spectrum, perhaps. I don't know, but he counts a lot and he gets strong fear about things even before they happen. Perhaps not premonitions, but I mean, there's certain things that make him uneasy. And of course, the first night that they've moved into this new house, and there's this crash, a teenager, not young, probably 16, 17-year-old. I think 16 is the age people can drive in the US. And the driver dies when the car crashes into a tree. Everyone else survives, but the fact that there's been a death must be pretty haunting. And you live in a remote location outside town, and then this thing happens. And when Josh brings it up, he describes it as a hiccup with when there's a dinner party, much to the chagrin of Rachel, who would rather not talk about it. Um, especially, she doesn't want her son traumatized, and I guess he doesn't either. But there's that whole worry. I mean, because at some point there's there's more. I mean, that's just the first crash. There's more crashes that happen. It's a place where regular crashes happen because this bend, you can see it in the background when they're eating their meals, and you think, "Oh, that does look a sharp bend." Um, and to imagine in on rural roads, people drive, 60 miles an hour, probably over that, 70, even if that's breaking the speed limit. Um, and they shouldn't. But people do, and they lose control. And the lawn of this house is right there, and so it builds up tension. I mean, Josh seems to have obsessional compulsive disorder, OCD. I can relate to him in that sense because I feel I've got um, quite a lot of OCD. So I have a huge amount of sympathy for him because he does. I mean, he's watched people die on his lawn. He's tried to save people, and he decides to learn first aid, and so it comes from the side of compassion, and some of the other characters seem a bit less compassionate. So, you know, I really felt for him, and yet this tension, you think, "Oh, come on!" It's obviously, he's like, he's buys a practice dummy, goes to classes, he learns how to do um, Kiss of Life, resuscitation, and good on him. But this leads because he finds out about the people who've died, and I mean, some of the families, like, they put up a shrine to their, um, like, to the son who dies on the first day, and it's like, um, and Josh looks up YouTube videos. I mean, he becomes so, I mean, like he's at work, he's got deadlines. He might not actually make his deadlines. There's that sort of feeling. I don't know if that's related, but when you see cars, sometimes they do take it carefully, but then there's cars slipping, sliding, and cars screeching. Oh, um, and one day when he's taking his son to taekwondo, he comes back and there's a really awful crash, a car on fire, um, and a woman screaming because her husband's still in the car and it's too late. He can't be rescued from the car. And just that drive around the corners, in this countryside drive, I felt for that because I was reminded a bit of when I saw a fire engine when I was about 15 years old, and a fire engine was racing for the village. I was coming home on the school bus, and I was a bit worried because I saw it going into the estate on the village that I lived, and I thought, "Oh, it's going towards our house." And I had the worst fear, and it it was actually our house was on fire. Fortunately, the fire brigade put out the fire, but that's the kind of sort of triggery feeling when I saw that particular scene. And just think, "Oh, it's going to be their house, isn't it? Or it's gonna be right outside their place." And those sort of feelings, they don't go away. You see fire engines or ambulance or any 999 or 911 emergency services racing in the direction that is towards your home, and you think, "Oh no, I hope it isn't too close." I mean, in London, even if it's a neighbouring place that's on fire, or someone's been knocked down, or whatever, an accident near home, that's pretty awful. And I've seen some pretty awful crashes and all sorts of things over the years I've lived in London, and the shrines that get built up afterwards, and it is just tragic to think a person's life ended at that point. So, and I very much try to not let my OCD get the best of me in that respect. But I can see how it happens. I see how understandable it is. I mean, it is a big obstacle. But turning it into saving lives, a quest to actually learn first aid, to actually work on helping others, that is, I just feel so commendable. And so when there's this tension because the families kind of um, being pulled apart by what's happening, uh, there's a lot of emotion. I can see both sides. I can see how Rachel is. I mean, and she really wants to protect Max, and then so there's all this stuff, and just feel. I mean, you know, Josh is sort of saying, um, he's been a bit overcritical, I think, of Rachel, and yet I don't know. There's these tragedies that happen in life, and there's levels of it. Um, but the fear of fires, the fears of collisions, um, all those sort of things, just I try and avoid YouTube videos most of the time. I mean, reels turn up on Facebook and Instagram and other social media. They feed you things, and you think, "Oh my gosh, what's this going to be?" And the best thing is to desist. Don't click. Avoid it if you can. I mean, sometimes it's just a design spectacle, not an awful tragedy. But I'm interested seeing people um, doing something where they don't get injured, where they don't get hurt, like people scaling buildings, what's it called? Parkour, that sort of thing. I mean, that's really spectacular, but I would not want to see it going wrong. I just won't. Well, Josh also and Rachel go for therapy, but Rachel suggests they see a woman counsellor, and then Rachel suggests maybe a man counsellor is better for Josh. And I was thinking, really, does it make that much difference? But they are a straight couple, and they see the world in one particular way. I don't know. Um, but I find it absolutely really fascinating. Mm, Josh gets interviewed by a television channel during the worst crash, and uh, there's, you know, tension. There's the pressure to sell the home, but I, was- I was thinking if that happened in the UK, you'd have to declare that one of the reasons why you're selling the home is because of this situation. It's actually now a homeowner can come back if you've not revealed the reason why you're selling a home is because of something like this. They've got rights. You can't just hoodwink a future buyer. You have to come clean with them. So there's all these things. I did wonder how difficult it was going to get in the end, but I found it really satisfactory. I thought I'm not going to say what the ending was, but I thought, oh, that's really justifiable end. I thought it was a really good um, way to conclude this narrative. But there were a few questions. I was wondering why didn't Josh campaign for more signs, proper chevrons, warning signs, 50 meters, 100 meters before the bend to say, slow down? I mean, there's a lot of that in the UK. You know, it might be a 60-mile-an-hour road, national speed limit on a single carriageway. Bring it down to 30, advise 30 miles an hour for this bend because it's serious. But of course, in other countries, things are different. Um, but yeah, I might find out more about this Lancashire Dangerous Corner because I think um, Road Peace and other campaign groups that are about saving lives, there's that whole message. I think that's really important, and it'd be interesting to know what the situation is like in Canada too, or North America in general. I think in many countries, I get the impression in the USA, driving is mm, less safe. I've been a few times to the US, hired a car, and some of my friends who drove a car. I mean, I haven't learned to drive, but the amount of explosives as they got worried about driving that they saw really concerned me, and so um, uh, uh, it's a fascinating topic anyway. Um, so Shop Corner, I'm going to score 8.75. Very good film, great acting by the main leads, by most of the characters that I saw, but definitely Ben Foster, Kobe Smulders, fabulous, I thought. Um, and it was a really good thriller. So, um, 8.75. Love to know what you think. Um, Please like if you like this review. Um, Thanks for subscribing if you do. Hope to please hit the notification button, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.